This is Football 401k.
Broadcasting on DallasCowboys.com and the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Now your hosts, Bo Repka and RJ Choppy.
Welcome to episode 5 of the Football 401k. I am RJ Choppy from 105 through the Fan. He is Bo Repka of the Football Glory Hole, and we have a great show in store for you today. We got a little bit of a look ahead. We got some best bets. We're going to look at some deceiving records in various divisions around the National Football League. And, of course, the Pizza Money Parlay, which is my favorite. And I think we won 2 of these last year. So we're going to go and try to get our first of the season this week on a little 29.5 to 1 3-team parlay that we have. But let's start with looking back at week 3 of the National Football League and maybe a little bit of college as well. First off, the Cowboys-Eagles. Bo, I don't know. I didn't understand the line when it came out. I didn't understand the line when it was settled at the kickoff. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. The Cowboys are way better than Philadelphia, and I think everybody should have known that. And that was that was probably the best game they've put together in quite some time.
Yeah, man. I mean, you were all over it, right? So this line closed at Cows -3. And RJ, you nailed it. You took it at the 4, right? Mm-hmm. You didn't need the extra point. Which generally speaking, if you want to bet a favorite, you kind of do wait till towards the end of bet it, because the public money generally will come in on depending on who the favorite is. Now, the Cowboy game could have went either way. It didn't matter. You didn't need the point. The point. We always say points matter in the NFL. Generally, they do. Not in that game. But I didn't understand it either. Philly was getting overvalued, right? They were 1-1 coming in. They were 1-1 ATS. And the only game they won and covered straight up was against Atlanta. Well, obviously, Atlanta, they are who we thought they were. Like coming in the season, like they stink. So I didn't understand it either. The Cowboys were 1-1, but they were 2-0 ATS. Yep. And now they're 3-0. ATS or 3-0 ATS. And RJ, we always say good teams win, great teams cover. And we proved last year, or just didn't prove, but we reminded everybody, if you don't cover spreads, you don't win Super Bowl. So if you want to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender, and people think, oh, this is just for sports gaming or whatever, no, it correlates and the reason why it correlates is because if you don't beat Vegas's expectations more often than not, then you're more vulnerable in any one game setting. If you're exceeding expectations, you're less vulnerable in a one game setting, which is always what the NFL is, regular season or playoff. It's a one game setting. That's why things move and shift so rapidly. But, if you look at the quarterback situation, I've heard you and Sean talk all week about it. I mean, we told you we didn't feel like Hurts was, a valid NFL quarterback. He might still be, but I think most people are of that opinion. Now, we told you he was 9th, right, after 2 weeks in APA plus CPOE. Now he's 22nd. So we said he wouldn't finish top 10. You're seeing it kind of move to where he is, right? Probably going to settle around. And Dak, on the other hand, is going the other way. Dak is all the way up to number 11 now, EPA plus CPOE. And I've been hearing you guys talk about his QBR is not where it's normally at. Pro Football Focus isn't grading him as, where they kind of normally do. I get all that, but the efficiency numbers are there. I agree 100% with you guys. Is the best we've seen Dak play from an overall standpoint. And I think personally, and I can't remember who said it the other day. It was a former quarterback or something. I think it was Favre maybe. The injury, has limited his mobility. Now, whether that's a real physical thing or it's in his mind, right, he hasn't gotten quite over the hurdle. Either way, he is making quicker decisions. He is getting rid of the ball at a rapid pace. He's being incredibly efficient. And with those weapons, man, they're going to cover a lot of spreads, especially if they keep getting undervalued like this, or teams they play get overvalued. The Cowboys could be a huge moneymaker this year.
They could. And that's interesting that you brought that up, because we talked about this week. And I personally think that this Monday night game, it was a nice run, but I think it ended the Cowboys being undervalued on the year. Until I look at the line this week, and it's 4.5. I think it should be more than 4.5 against Carolina. I think Carolina's getting too much overvalued here. But do you think the Cowboys are still a tad undervalued in Vegas?
I think that we're at the water level now. We'll go over that game here a little bit, but right now it's a 0-point delta per our algorithm. So I think that they're right now. I mean, the computers gave the edge to the Cowboys last week. You love the Cowboys last week. You and the computers were spot on, right? They were easily the better football team. This is going to be one of those watershed games this week for not only public conjecture, but analytically too. So it's going to be a great game. This is one of those measuring stick games, if you want to call it that, but we'll get into it. But it's going to be a great week this week. Last week in the Super Contest, we also went 4-1.
Woo!
Great week for us, right?
Yeah.
Our only letdown was the stupid football team from Washington. Choppy, their defense is 29th in DVOA this year, and we talk about all the time how unpredictable defenses are, but I have a problem with things being unpredictable. I don't like to accept that. And I started thinking about it and digging in a little bit more, and I don't have the numbers in front of me yet, but I'm starting a study to try to make that more predictable than we've seen in the past. And one thing I've already found is it's not just because you can say strength of schedule, whatever you want to in NFL once the cake is baked. But if you look back at the level of competition in certain, brackets or in certain groupings of who they played. So in other words, if you took what was Washington known for last year, their defensive line, right?
Defense,
it's the best
defensive line,
of all
pass
time.
rush. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look back just in looking at some of the ratings, some Pro Football Focus, some of that stuff, they also compiled like one of the worst pass protection go against in the entire NFL. So maybe if we start to pay attention to disparities like that, it's hard to do in season. Yeah. But like I said, once the cake is baked, you look and kind of examine the layers. Maybe you start to look at some of that and like, yeah, they did, but here's what they face. So we're going to figure out how to see this regression coming. I promise you that. And we're not going to get blindsided like this again.
Yeah.
By a team going from 2nd to 29th. This is kind of crazy. Now I think they'll settle better. They'll figure it out. Rivera, he's a good enough coach. He'll get them on track. But this has been a massive, massive downgrade for the Washington football team.
I mean, defensive regression is a real thing. We see it with Tampa. We're seeing it with Washington. And then it regresses on the positive side. We're seeing that with the Cowboys this year. So I think it's it's an interesting spot to be in. How is this first start move the odds in the division in the NFC East?
So we've seen a pretty tremendous move in the odds in some spots, and some spots not so much. Now, we've been through 3 weeks. So after this week, Choppy, we'll unveil next week our first round of Pythagorean theorem rankings, which you and I made pretty good coin last year, betting some division futures using this method. And we'll get into how that works next week. But right now, Dallas has always been the favorite, right? However, the odds closed at preseason at Dallas plus 130, which means Vegas was saying at that time they had about a 43% chance of winning the division. But now Dallas is minus 185, which Vegas, that translates that they're saying it's 65% chance now of the Cowboys winning the division through 3 games. So obviously, for betting purposes, you've lost all value. If you did not bet on your Cowboys preseason, you've lost all the value. But that's a hell of a turnaround in 3 weeks. And in fact, I actually looked it up in season. They were plus 135 after they lost week 1 to Tampa Bay. That was the high. That was the apex of where you could have got that value at plus 135 on the Cowboys. Like I said, that value is gone now. So if you look at the rest of the teams, the Washington football team are in second place divisional odds race, but they closed at 230 preseason, which was a 30% chance to win the division. Now they're plus 450, which Vegas is saying they've got an 18% chance of winning this division. Now, in full disclosure, I did bet the Washington football team in March at plus 450 when this odds came out, just because of all the uncertainty surrounding Dak and everything that was to that. And again, I sipped the Kool-Aid on that defense, right? I'm just as guilty as anybody else. But I'll tell you this, if Washington loses this week to Atlanta, I might as well shred that ticket right now because I got no shot at it.
No shot.
The Eagles are currently in third at plus 500, which actually is a slight improvement from plus 550 preseason, but it's still a 17% chance to win. And the Giants, preseason plus 450, they're at plus 1,300 now. Woo! That's 7% choppy. So, and although I don't think you'll get any better value than betting the Giants on the Giants at this point, I'm not going to line up to throw my money away at a 7% chance. I don't feel like playing the lottery right this second, but I don't think they'll get any worse. So if you're going to bet the Giants, if you're going to back them, you might as well buy your ticket now, because if they win a game, you're not going to get plus 1,300 again. That's all I'll say on that. So
No.
overall, Choppy, the Vegas is telling you Dallas is firmly in control of this division, 65% chance to win. And, the public might say, well, of course, look at their record. I mean, they're 2-1. The rest of these teams stink, but that's not right the way Vegas operates. In fact, if you look at the AFC West, the Chiefs are still the odds-on favorite, and they're 1-2, and they're minus 125. So they're basically the same 60% chance as the Cowboys win their division. That's what Vegas is telling you for the Chiefs to win theirs. The Broncos are 3-0. They're plus 350. So they're just slightly better than the Washington football team. The Chargers are 2-1 and just beat the Chiefs. They're plus 500, and the Raiders are 3-0, and they're plus 525. So what Vegas is telling you is it is time to start selling your Raiders, Chargers, and Broncos stock. If you got it all piled up, you better sell it now, baby, because it's going down in value.
Yeah, I think I saw like you could get really good value just to pick the Raiders to finish last in the division, which, I mean, the way Carr's playing, that would be surprising to finish last, but the division is very, very difficult. Go ahead.
They started 6-2 and 6-3, I think, the last couple of years, and they just melt down. So, that is their MO.
Yeah, it is. Let's look at the quarterback loss of value. How has that changed at all this year?
So looking at that, we had a couple games last week in the Super Contest that we hit. We told you about it here on the podcast. The Bears were -7. They were -7 preseason. They were -7 before the week started. They're -7 after Andy Dalton was announced out and Fields was announced in. And we told you that's crazy because there's no way mathematically it could support Andy Dalton and Justin Fields being the same level against the spread or worth the same amount of points. We said it should have moved 3.5 points, and we were right on that. And, Chicago went out there and got crushed on the road, which was not that hard to predict against a good football team in Cleveland and a rookie making his first start. And, Fields had a 4 QBR in his first action the week before. He had a 6 QBR last week. So I guess you could say it's 33% improvement if you wanted to be positive about it, but it's still a 6 overall. So that was one spot where the market did not move. However, Vegas did take in a lot of public money on that. So I think that was what their goal was the whole time. And they didn't mind getting kind of knocked in the head a little bit by the sharp side if they could take the public money on the other side, because they're always going to outweigh the money that they'll limit us to. And then on the other game was Miami. We had Miami in Las Vegas catching 4 points. I think it was the Super Contest. I think it closed at 3.5. That line did move. I think it was 3.5 points. But we told you the movement on that was baked in, that them thinking Tua was not going to get announced in. And, of course, he was announced out and it didn't move after that. So everybody's like, oh, it's no movement from Tua to Brissett. I'm like, no, it was 3.5 points, but they just baked it into the cake. We just bet that Miami on that because we thought it was a little bit too much. Tua was not quite that valuable to the spread. And, Brissett didn't play great, right? But Tua's not great. So, again, it pretty much did equal out that we were right on that. Now we got a little fortunate to cover that in the end, but they had a 14-0 lead on the road.
Yeah.
So we thought Vegas would come out flat after being 2-0. Did come out very flat. It's the exact start you need when you've got a dog, and that's how the game went. And thankfully for that 14-0 start, that's the reason why we covered that game.
All right, that's our look back at week 3 in the National Football League. We got a lot. We can look ahead. We got the Pizza Money Parlay. We got our best bets. That's all coming up. I'm RJ Choppy. He is Bo Repka. This is the Football 401k. Welcome back to the Football 401k. I'm RJ Choppy. He is Bo Repka. Let's quickly fire through these and look ahead at the games going on this week, Bo. Let's start off with Washington, the football team, against the Falcons of Atlanta, the fighting Matt Ryans, who they stink.
Yeah, they stink. Washington -1 at Atlanta. Now, Washington, I just said, burned us last week, right? But you can't let that affect your bigger picture. And the bigger picture is the line on this game was Atlanta -3 when Fitzpatrick was supposed to be the quarterback. Now it's Washington -1 with a skunky German beer throwing the ball around. And we just told you that QB value can be tricky, but Vegas has seen Heineke enough to get a handle on what he is in the spread, and so has the market. And while he is below average EPA plus CPOE, he's miles ahead of Ryan in that stat in this year. And Washington pass rush has struggled, but Choppy, if you look at their most successful game, which was against the Giants, They had 4 sacks. And what did the Giants and the Falcons have in common? They are both bottom 3 of the league in offensive adjusted sack rate. Washington is getting undervalued here a bit, and that's hard to do versus a team as bad as Atlanta, but it is happening just because of that drumming they just took up in Buffalo. But Washington is definitely the lean on this one.
All right, Washington here. We got Chicago, Detroit. This game, this is the biggest line movement of the week in the NFL. Started at 6, now it's down to 2.5. The Bears are favored. Is this a downgrade for Chicago? Is this an upgrade for Detroit? What is this?
Yeah, this is the Fields line move that should have happened last week, which we were thankful it didn't. Right now, the market is adjusted because now the public has seen 2 games for Fields. So now if they left that line out there again at 6, they were going to get hammered on both sides, and they knew it. So they had to move it. It is down to 2.5. More money is coming in Detroit. I don't think that that's enough of a movement, to be honest with you. And here's why. Detroit is sneakily the 4th best adjusted sack rate team on defense with 8 sacks so far through 3 games. And you saw Fields struggles with pressure, obviously, which young quarterback doesn't. And my biggest thing on this game is, if you remember back when Chicago favorites, when we talked about backing favorites or backing dogs, you want low variance if you're going to bet a favorite, low variance. And we told you last week, there is no higher variance in the National Football League than a rookie quarterback in the NFL. And unless the rookie is, the McCookie monster up in New England, because he's the most limited physically of all the quarterbacks, so he has the least amount of variance. Again, you got huge variance. You're having to lay points. Detroit's coming in. I think all the value here is on the kneecapper still. And, I don't know, Choppy, you think if Chicago loses this game handily, does Nagy get fired this week? Does he get run this week?
I think it depends. I think it depends on how the game goes. Like, does he start Fields? Does he start Dalton? I don't know that I would fire a coach who has made the playoffs an awful lot with Mitchell Trubisky because the GM wanted to get rid of the quarterback and you drafted Fields. I mean, you got to give him a little bit of a chance. I think. I don't know. Maybe they don't feel that way, but I think you got to give him a chance. I mean, are they really what are the expectations? Were you really expecting – now, I said if Fields was great, they're in the NFC Championship game this year. He obviously is not great.
Well, not so far, but Vegas' expectation, they were 8.5 wins, right? And we bet them on the under. That was one of our best bets in that division. I mean, the best case scenario for them was Andy Dalton, and he spares them 8 or 9 wins, right? And maybe we win our bet, maybe we lose our bet. This is the best case scenario for us because it's a rookie quarterback. As long as he's playing, I feel good about our under coming.
All right, how about Denver-Baltimore? This is the first game Denver is going to face or play where they face a team that has a win. Their opponents are 0-9 in the season. So how are we looking at this one?
Yeah, this line's moved 4.5 points, and I don't think that it's justified. Like you said, Denver's played 3 teams that are 0-3. Not only that, those three teams have a combined point differential of minus 107. So it's not just they played 3 bad teams. They might have played the 3 worst teams in all of football. Baltimore has major injuries all over the place, and historically, this is a spot where Lamar has struggled when he's a short favorite or dog, like we told you in the divisional odds. But like we told you in the divisional odds, Vegas is telling you it is time to sell some of your Broncos stock. And on the flip side of that, Baltimore, even with all these injuries, even with, a little bit of struggling here and there, scuffling against Detroit, they're still the favorite to win that division at plus 110. And that's a division with Cleveland, who is a good football team. And if they're going to go win that division, they have to go win this football game. And they know it. Denver's a tough place to play for sure. But I think the injuries are getting overvalued here in the marketplace. I think Baltimore wins this one. I think they win this game easier than they've won any game so far.
All right. The Teddy Two Gloves look good, though. He is throwing the ball downfield. He's not
Teddy
checking
Two
things
Gloves
down.
is slinging it, baby.
Yeah, he is slinging it all over. I love watching him. Of all the quarterbacks, if you're just going based on if you've never seen a football game before, he's one of the 10 best quarterbacks in the league after 3 weeks.
He's the number one EPA plus CPOE. Number 1.
Yeah. If you've never seen the game, he is. New Orleans and the Giants, the analytic-friendly New York Giants, apparently, who punt on 4th and 3 from the 39.
Oh God, I wish. I wish that New Mexico State use those kind of analytics, and they didn't go for it on 4th and 36 and cost us cover. That's a different story. But yeah, this game is a gross game for us to handicap. And New Orleans is no doubt the better football team, but they aren't any better than we thought that they would be. Right, Winston. Right. If this is how they're going to have to win, and that's his ceiling, right, throwing for under 200 yards. He hasn't been impressive, but he's also still shown that he can still go full Winston, right? And week 2, have that stinker. Now, New Orleans is a tired football team. They haven't been home, and I don't know when. They haven't played a home game yet in a month, of being on the road. And the Giants are desperate. And believe it or not, as much crap as we give Daniel Jones, he's outperformed Winston in advanced analytics so far. And we're getting 2.5 points of value from the opening line. And one last nugget on this one, the Giants are 19-6 ATS in the last 25 road games, including 10-1 ATS in their last 11 as a road dog. It's a weird trend, but I think there is an actual correlation to it. And I think it's Daniel Jones and the pressure of New York. And I think it's once he gets out of that stadium, right, he's just expecting to get booed at the first bad thing that happens. When he's on the road and bad things happen to him, people cheer. So he doesn't have the pressure of getting booed, and he can make comebacks. He can slide in that back door as a big dog like he is here. And I fully expect that to happen, man. I think that's the reason why that trend correlates so well of him being such a good road dog quarterback is because he is not worried about getting booed at his first incompletion or, his mother being insulted in the stands or whatever else goes on. I don't know. But I think it's a mental thing, and I think that's a real correlation.
Yeah, interesting. And then the final game we'll talk about the Cowboy game. Cowboys and the Carolina Panthers with sharp teeth and claws. This I still love that guy.
Oh my God. I forgot all about that too.
I don't get the line. I think the Cowboys should be favored by more, but you got to hand it to Carolina. They have, they've pummeled teams.
Yeah. So this is the first time it's been a 0 delta on the Cowboys in our power rating. So no value here to us either way. However, it is hard for me to see Carolina be able to score the ball with Dallas. And the only 2 teams that have really given them trouble, Dallas it is Tampa Bay and, the Chargers. They both can score the football. Now, the Chargers didn't score the football, but neither team did because of a cavalcade of, penalties and turnovers or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's where I think the Cowboys' only trouble is going to be this year is with teams that can score the ball. I don't think a team like Carolina. Now, here's why I said earlier it would be such a measuring stick game. Carolina's underlying numbers, they have been so dominant. That's why it is a 0 delta. They're number 1 in DVOA and defense, right? And for that reason, even without their best offensive player, the point spread is right where it should be. Now, this is by far the best offense Carolina's seen or will see outside of Tampa Bay twice this season. So we're about to find out how real that defense is. And on the flip side of that, this is the best defense the Cowboys have seen by far, right? Tampa Bay had a reputation in game 1, but obviously we know they're not that good. So we're going to get to see a measuring stick on the Cowboys side on offense, and we're going to see a measuring stick on Tampa Bay on the defensive side. And these are the kind of games, this is why the data gets so sharp after about 4 weeks of the NFL, because we get these kind of matchups and we get to start to see who's for real and who's not. Again, Choppy, and I don't know how you see it, but I see Dallas doing very well this season against teams that cannot score the football.
Yeah.
And Carolina is not going to, but here's I think this is the sharpest point on this game. People are thinking, oh, Noah McCaffrey, he's their highest usage player. He's this, he's that, whatever. And all that's true. However, sometimes, Choppy, when you lose your best player, you use your highest usage rate guy, and he's a running back, that tends to make you throw the ball more, which is actually better, right? It's the most efficient way to move the ball. So does Darnold throw it more? Do they become more dynamic on offense because of the loss of McCaffrey? Because they're not feeding him, they're not having. They know they can't just rely on a 19-16 game. I don't know, but I think that's a sharper way to look at it, and I think that's the reason why it's definitely going to be a pass for me for sure. Not only because the numbers are 0, but we haven't seen this version of Sam Darnold in this offense without that guy to lean on. I mean, they could come out. I mean, Matt Rule could come out and throw it 50 times. He could do that for sure. And I think that he's a smart enough coach to know he's probably going to have to do that against this Cowboys team if Dallas' offense performs like it should.
There are a couple teams that the Cowboys just match up really, really well with, and those are the teams like this that don't score. Arizona and Minnesota and Tampa and the Rams. I don't want to see those teams in the postseason. You're going to have to. But those are teams that could score, and the Cowboys. I don't know their defense can hang up with that. So that's where we are, kind of thing. I mean, those. I know. I just mentioned the 4 best teams outside of Minnesota. But Minnesota could score. Kirk Cousins have a great year. Minnesota could score like crazy. So I'm just waiting for them.
A great year.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for them to get good. I'm waiting for them to fire Mike Zimmer and stop blaming Kirk Cousins for their failures and start blaming Zim. That's what I'm waiting for. So, all right, that is the look ahead at this week in the football 401k. But let's make some money. We got our best bets, our pizza parlay, our NFL player prop special. It's all coming up next on the football 401k.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man's Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. Where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way.
Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Honey, big news.
Gary, are you okay?
Oh, I'm not Gary anymore. I'm Jackie Flash.
What?
See, I want the latest smartphone, but the best deals are only for new customers. So, to get a new customer deal, I changed my name to Jackie Flash.
Okay, but the best smartphone deals at AT&T are for everyone, new and existing customers.
That's huge. Then guess who's getting a deal?
Is it Jackie Flash?
Jackie Flash.
It's not complicated. At AT&T, our best smartphone deals are for everyone. Restrictions apply. Visit att.com for details.
Back to football 401k.
Welcome back to the football 401k. I'm RJ Choppy. He is Bo Repka. Let's get right to it. A little bit of best bets for the weekend. I'm going to throw out some NFL games this week that I've got, but I know, right? Let's take a look at college football first. Pittsburgh and Georgia Tech. I almost didn't want to put this game in there because I'm still mad that Pitt beat my Volunteers, but what else is new? I'm just kind of used to it by now.
Yeah, I don't think I was going to mention that in the handicap, except, oh, yeah, I was. But anyway, Pittsburgh last week hammered something called New Hampshire, which I'm not sure if that's a school, Choppy, or a financial institution. But either way, the ledger didn't balance out for New Hampshire. It was 77-7. See what I did there? Now, Pittsburgh goes to Georgia Tech, but they're only laying 3.5 points. Choppy, Pitt laid 3.5 2-year balls in Tennessee earlier this year. And you already mentioned how it turned out, so we'll just move past it. But Georgia Tech and Tennessee are almost identical in our power rankings. But now, they weren't when they played Tennessee earlier. Tennessee was higher, so it means we are getting value here on Pitt, and Pitt can score the football. Forget the 77 they put up on the hedge fund. They scored 51 against UMass, 41 on Tennessee, and 41 on Western Michigan. Now, Georgia Tech did put up 45 versus UNC, and that is where this game is getting overinflated. That's where the overinflations come from. UNC in that game, Choppy, had 3 turnovers. They led to a more lopsided score than it should have been. But before that, the most points Georgia Tech had scored all season against the FBS school was 21 versus Northern Illinois, who was 125th in scoring defense, by the way. And they only scored 21. They give up 45 points a game. Georgia Tech didn't even score half of their average. So love Pitt here.
Love Pitt. Okay, I'm down. I like that. I like that that pick right there. How about, this is interesting, Alabama against Ole Miss. This, Bo, was like a 20-point spread at 2 o'clock. And in 4 hours, it went down to 14.5. I have not seen line movement like that in quite a while. All the attention is on Ole Miss. All the betting, all the wagering is on Ole Miss. You're getting Bama at 2 scores. Nobody ever gets Bama at 2 possessions.
14.5 is where we snagged this one at. And like you said, moved all the way down to that. Now, you need to grab it now if you're going to bet Mississippi. Don't let it slip any further, because I think that it will. We told you on the podcast last year that before last year, Nick Saban, if you took Tennessee out of it, was a 51% ATS coach in the SEC for his entire career at Bama. It's 50-50 with that guy, whether he covers, whether he doesn't. Now, last year, he only lost 2 games against the spread period, but it's a post-COVID college football world, and things have returned back to normal. The Tide are 2-2 ATS on the season, with a cumulative margin of -4 points. Ole Miss, on the other hand, is 2-0-1 ATS with a +12 cumulative ATS margin. Bama covered against Miami and against Southern Miss, but they didn't cover against Florida with basically the exact same spread, which we had Florida in that game, and we hit that game. Now, that game was in Florida, but the difference between Florida, who is 6th in our power ranking, and Ole Miss, who is 10th, is about 3 points. So that's where you're seeing the flip. It's the same exact market. Bama didn't come close to covering those 2 scores against Florida, and I think it's still wrong, and I think we're still getting the value on here. So hotty toddy, baby.
51% against the SEC. If you take Tennessee out, if you add Tennessee, what are they at? Like 75. Oh,
yeah, he's never lost.
I know. Just undefeated against them. Okay, yeah. So you like Ole Miss plus the 14.5?
Yes, sir.
It's gutsy. I like it. That's gutsy. I might be inclined to take Bama on that one, only just because I'm thinking this is one of those games. This is one of those Bama games that Saban's like, yeah, we're going all in.
But one last note on this game, the total, and this will be one of maybe 2 totals. You'll see this all year. It's going to finish around 80 or 81. There was only 2, or I think there was 4 of those last year in college football. 3 out of those 4 went under. But if it's going to go that way, which it easily can, you got Lane Kiffin and that offense. They're not going to stop throwing ever. That's a huge backdoor to walk into. So that's another reason why we like it so much.
All right, very good. NFL player prop this week. Tom Brady, over under 2.5 passing touchdowns. You like the over?
Swami. We love the over
boy.
Now, this is about as square as we're ever going to get on this podcast, but it's the situation. He's going to want to play his very best game in New England, and if he can help it, he is going to throw the ball in the red zone as much as possible. He'll take any cheap touchdown, especially because he wants to get his boy Gronk involved. They want to shove it so far up Bill's rear end that he'll have to waddle his way out of that stadium. He won't be able to walk right for a week. That's what they want. Tommy is shown he's the most vindictive person of all time. He's so petty, and I love it. And that pettiness is going to win us money, baby. That guy's going to score he's going to throw as many touchdowns as he possibly can on Sunday. He's not going to stop.
They're putting 51 on the board. I got 2. I know, right? I have 2 NFL games I want to bet here. The first is Arizona and the Rams. I like the over in this game. It's at 54. The Rams offense is clicking, and Kyler's a good player. I don't know how the Rams defense ain't as good as it was last year. It's good. They gave up 24 to the Colts with Carson Wentz. They should have given up more. Carson turned the ball over in the red zone there, and that ridiculous interception. And they allowed quite a bit of points to Tommy Boy too. So give me the over 54, and I like Detroit plus 3. You may get it maybe at 2.5. I've also seen it at 3. Yeah. If this is going to be one of the wins they steal this year, Chicago looks ripe for the picking, and Detroit has kind of beat themselves. Coach Kneecap's a little bit more conservative than they would have liked, but Goff has not made plays, but he hasn't hurt them. He hasn't helped them. He's kind of been a safety guy. He's been a stabilizing force. So I like Detroit plus 3.
Love that pick.
All right. Good deal. Okay. Pizza Money Parlay time. 3-teamer. $10 to win $295. Kentucky plus 265. Charlotte plus 310. Liberty plus 105, Bo.
The Liberties, baby. They did not cover last week. we had the guts of a burglar, and we went against Liberty in the spread. We pulled that one right out of the fire. I wouldn't advise that too much, though. They're the best team ATS in all of college football since I think about 2015 or 16. The Liberty Bibberties, they don't fall very often. They're going to go win a game on the road this week. Their quarterback's going to have a good bounce back performance. He's a pretty good little quarterback, and people need to start paying attention to him. And then on top of that, I feel the best about this parlay. I felt about any parlay, so I'm going to advise everyone to sprinkle a little something on each one of these games individually, because if Kentucky or Charlotte hit, you're paid already. So this is one of those you want to bet each leg individually also along with the parlay. Again, I wouldn't go full unit, but maybe half unit on each. And if your unit's $100, that's 135, what is that? 165 and then $50 basically. Any one of those hits and you are paid.
All right. Good stuff. So there it is. Kentucky, Charlotte, Liberty. The Pizza Money Parlay, $10 to win $295. We also are on Pitt -3.5, Ole Miss plus the 14.5, Tom Brady over 2.5 passing touchdowns, Rams Cards over, Detroit +3. All right, Bo, another great episode of the Football 401k. Where can we find you on social media and such?
You can find us at FGH Vegas on Twitter. You can find us at thefootballgloryhole.com, or you can find our podcast, The Football Glory Hole Podcast, anywhere. And I mean anywhere you find podcasts.
I'm RJ Choppy from 105 Through the Fan. Find me Monday through Friday, 5:30 to 10 on 105 Through the Fan. Myself and Sean Sharif, Troy Hughes on Twitter at RJ Choppy. I keep it simple, and I'm a lord. Yes, I am. A styled lord. For Bo, I'm RJ. We will talk to you guys next week on the Football 401k. Let's win some cash.